What's up, guys? Sifu here in the dojo, bringing you another YouTube video. I know it's been a while since I've had one. The game's been released. In the old videos, I had hair. Now I don't. But yeah, we got a lot more players coming to do Eternal, and so I'm going to start trying to bring out a little bit more content for you guys too, for the new players, for people who's trying to find decks, things like that. Now let's get right down to it. The deck I'm going to be talking about is Temporal. We thought it was dead. Now it's not. My teammate Gozuuu top aided with his list on February 16th in the ETS this year. Really cool. It's been a few days since then. I took a similar list with just very minor changes. Played it in on my stream on ladder. Went 22-3 with it. As long as there's not a lot of aggro, I would suggest playing this deck. This deck's really good. It has problems with aggro, though, so be sure to know exactly what you're playing against. And I know everyone's saying it's an FJS meta, but this deck is the real deal. This video is only going to discuss the list, and I'm going to have Gozuu on himself to discuss the cards he played and just have a little chat with him, so get y'all to know him a little bit better and see the cards that got played, what cards might be changed. So you'll get to see his list and my list. And then I've got gameplay on another video that I'll be producing later on. It's going to be part 2 of this. This is just the deck tag to get you the list. The next video will be the gameplay. So if you like this video, be sure to check out the gameplay. Yeah, let's just get right to it. Let's get Gozuu in the dojo and let's see how it goes. Alright guys, we're here with Gozuu, my teammate from SPG, and we're going to get his insight on the deck that he played to top 8 of the ETS. Gozuu, you want to tell us it? You want to tell us?
Thank you for having me here. So I've been playing Eternal since April last year. Since then I've been able to play 2 invitationals in the ETS. I've also been able to qualify for 2 top 64 in the ECQs. And yeah, that's it. I love the game. I've been playing quite a lot.
Yeah, you helped get a deck nerfed, I believe, like in one of the ECQs. You helped SPG come up with the to let FJS with the chains, and we kind of wrecked the ETS that weekend and the ECQ.
Yeah, that's true. FJS was really overpowered at the time, and I think adding chains to the market made the deck even stronger.
Yeah, change to the market, cut quarry, and just play more broken units is pretty much what the list ended up happening. Unfortunately,
yeah, more threats. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get to play that anymore. They nerfed some cards. Deck's still super powerful. I think we're still in the FJS meta. But anyway, but that's not what you played at the ETS. You played Temporal. A lot of people are like, Temporal's back, the boogeyman, and I believe it is, as long as ladder stays less aggro.
Yeah, that's true, because this deck is not great against aggro. Sure, we could make some changes to make it a little bit better against aggro, but it's never gonna be amazing. It's never gonna be brilliant against aggro. But on the other hand, against mid-range, this is just amazing.
Yeah, it just destroys.
Yeah, anything mid-range and other control, because you go over the top of other control decks as well, like Grenadines, the Fire Shadow Grenadines list, which is a bit control-y, maybe control combo we could say. This goes over the top, so it's really, really good against those kind of decks.
Yeah, I guess you kind of answered the question I'm about to ask. So what made you come by this list? What made you decide to play Temporal? Was it something you were working on for weeks? Was it something you just was like, I want to outgrind everything else? Like, did somebody recommend this to you, or you see it on the stream?
Well, I decided upon doing this list after the ECQ, because all the decks that did well were mid-range, and I wanted something that had a good matchup against all those decks, and this is what I came up with.
Gotcha. Now that it's out there, I know I've been streaming a version of this deck for a couple of nights now and have had really good success with it. And now with your top 8, are you worried that a lot more people will be playing this, or are you worried they're going to try to counter this? Like going forward, what would you change with this list, if anything?
Uh, what I would change? Maybe the Scorpion Wasps, they haven't been that great. I had the Scorpion Wasps in the deck because of Aegis units, since I'm not running uh, Runehammer.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have Runehammer instead of Scorpion Wasp, but Runehammer sometimes is too slow, and it's not great against mid-range. It's pretty bad against mid-range, and the Wasp is decent. Um,
Fair enough.
Other than that, I'm not sure what I could change in this list. Um, Hailstorms, sometimes they are not great, but I think they are necessary. Um Sword of Sky King, most of the times we don't need it, but when they get rid of Pitiful Neck, the Temporal Distortion, you might run out of threats, and that actually won me a few games having that sword. So I think I would keep it.
Yeah, it definitely won me a couple of games. I have gone down on that number. I was at 2. I guess kind of got a little carried away. I was telling you what to change about it. Let's just go over the list, let everyone see it. For all the new players that might be watching this video. So what I'll do is I'll go through every card, and then I'll try to envision being a new player or trying to come up with questions for you, and you just rattle off answers to why they are the way they are.
All right.
So right off the bat, we're going to talk about a 13 unit deck. A lot of, not for a mid-range deck, not playing a lot of units. And a lot of them don't really do a lot, but yeah, we're going to go over them. Right off the bat, you got a 0/4 Merchant, 4 of, and 3 Great Valley Smugglers. What made you want to go with 7 available cards to get to the market instead of 8 or instead of 4?
All right, so 4 I think is too little because the main plan is to play Eternity Core on turn 4. Ideally, we want to deal with 1 or 2 units on the first 2 turns if our opponent plays anything. Turn 3, play a Merchant. Turn 4, play an Eternity Core. And having just 4 is too little. We can't do that many times. I didn't go with an 8 Merchant, so I cut 1 off in order to have 1 more threat. In this case, the Sword of Sky King in the main.
Okay, that's interesting. So a lot of people out there, like, instead of your 8 merchants, you're substituting 1 for the Sword of the Sky King to have a threat main. That's okay. I can see that. Yeah, Eternity Core is really necessary. Like, even like a lot of people are like Temporal is your win con or Pit is your win con. A lot of our cards can't do anything until we get to 6, and it's very important to thin our deck out with either Minotaur at 6 or something like that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You kind of answered what Scorpion Wasps is there for the Aegis units. You know, Feast Caller. I played against the FTP Firetime Primal Peak deck, and a lot of them aren't on the Feast Caller version, but on ladder there are a few, and it was very nice to have Scorpion Wasp in that situation.
Yeah, and even if they don't have anything with Aegis, in that particular matchup, the Wasp is still decent. It can hit the Sentinel that draws cards, Moonstone Vanguard, it can hit Sandstorm Titan. We need to kill those cards anyway, eventually, so...
Yeah. Minotaur Ambassador, 6 cost.
Minotaur Ambassador is it's one of the key parts of the deck because we really need to get to high amounts of power. So if we are able to play Eternity Core on turn 4, then we can follow with Ambassador on turn 5. Next turn we can cast Brilliant Idea for 10, drawing 6 cards. I've done that a lot of times, so...
Yeah, that's usually game, right? Like,
yeah.
So it kind of serves like 3 purposes, right? It thins your deck so you're not drawing power. It ramps you into your brilliant ideas. Or a lot of times when I'm discussing how this game, as a mid-range player or a control player to other people, because control doesn't really overlap to other games. Like MTG is completely different when they're talking about control. I feel like when we start winning is when we're able to do 2 things in a turn. And Ambassador ramps us to allow us to do 2 things in 1 turn. So we thin our deck. We allow ourselves to start doing 2 plays a turn. And then also late game, if there's any power left in your deck, when you play a pit and you play a Minotaur, like, it's just Christmas land coming together. Like,
Oh yeah. That's pretty much game unless they have Arch Rule. That's,
yeah.
4/7/7s in one turn is a bit hard to deal with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to go over the attachment Sword of the Sky King. It's an 8/8. It's another answer, another weapon. You do have Disjunction in the market, so I don't see it being used this often to get Sword of the Sky King back, but it could be. In some of the aggro matchups, I know I was playing the other night, just gaining that 8 armor, having 8 extra health against an opponent was really important.
Yeah, that can win a game against aggro. Well, the main reason I have it here is because your opponent can actually get rid of Distortion, Pit of Lanekta, and Eternity Core with a single bar, and then with Disjunction you can get one back, but maybe they still have an answer for that. That happened to me a few times as well, when they bar everything, put bar back in the market, you Disjunction, and then they bar your Pit of Lanekta again, because that's what mostly we're gonna get. I've been able to win some of those games with Sword of Sky's King later, so I think it's an important card here. Also, against the aggro matchups, even though it costs 8 and it's not good when we draw it early, it's one of our best cards to stabilize.
Yeah. Agreed. And sometimes, like, I'll, swing out with my units, Harsh Rule, and then get to my final bit of damage playing Sword. Like, that's happened a couple times. So now we're going to get to the fun part of the deck. The deck has 36 spells. Some of them are kind of 1-for-1s, but some of these get really great. First up, Defiance. Kill an attacking enemy unit with cost 3 or less, or stun an attacking enemy unit with cost 4 or more. Mainly there for aggro. Every once in a while, I've had the situation where I've had to use the stun effect. But I would just say it's for aggro mostly, right?
Yeah, it's mostly for aggro. The stun effect is not bad at all against mid-range, except it's a Sandstorm Titan on Moonstone Vanguard. But other than that, it's good because it stops the unit from attacking 2 turns. Actually 3, right? So the turn when it attacks first, the next turn... No, 2 turns.
Yeah, 2 times.
So getting us 2 turns to just draw cards or advance the power is great. And also if they play another unit to be able to pressure us next turn, then we can Arch Rule and get a 2-for-1 at least. So Defiance is really great, and I'm actually considering adding another Defiance, like having 4 Defiance. I think that would be something good. But I don't know what to cut.
Yeah, the deck's just super hard to cut. But yeah, it's also really easy to keep up 1 in this deck. Like, because the way the pause system works in this game, this doesn't register as a pause until they attack, which is very relevant. Going on Seek Power, pretty much we're playing 3 colors with having to meet a triple time requirement, a double primal requirement, and a double justice requirement. So Seek Power is almost unnecessary. We're playing a heavily expensive spell deck, so the more power the better. Strategize. Draw 2, you put 1 card back. I mean, it's just like, once you realize what your opponent's playing, Strategize becomes really one of the best cards in the deck. Just knowing that you're playing against mid-range, you can put your Hellstorms in the bottom, your Defiances. It allows us to play all these kind of niche cards while finding us our win cons, our big haymakers. So yeah.
Strategize is great. There's no way to cut Strategize from this kind of deck. I think every deck I play Control with Primal, I always have 4 Strategize, 4 Wisdom of the Elders. So
fair enough.
Those are just great cards.
We've got 4 Vanquishes for the mid-range. You always want to try to make them overcommit to beat you, because once this deck stabilizes, they can't win. So if you're able to vanquish, hold them off until you can use your Harsh Rule for more threats, it's always better to do. So this is very good for the mid-range.
Indeed.
We
It's a really important card, especially because of Joe, because you can't have Joe attack you. It's
agreed.
practically
Zoe's rough. Like you let Zoe hit you, it's bad. Moving on to Hellstorm, it's essential. I mean, we don't want to face aggro, but we want to have a fighting chance. So
yeah, basically that's it. And the Storm hasn't been great when I was playing the ETS because mostly I played against mid range, and then the aggro matchup I just lost to Ho. I was playing against uh, Maul, and Maul is a really rough matchup. It's pretty much impossible. Um,
it's also good
yes.
against like the Grenade Index on the ground. Like Hellstorm actually
Oh
does
yeah.
work against them.
Against Grenadines, Hailstorm is great, but it's a matchup where we don't really need it. It's an already very good matchup, so might cut those. I don't know.
Um,
Maybe cut one of them for one Defiance wouldn't be bad because Defiance is actually better against aggro than the Hailstorm is.
yeah, having that double primal on turn 3 is gonna be rough. I could see that. I might test that out tonight actually. Moving on to Wisdom, we've already covered that with Strategize. Great,
Yeah,
great Parliament. Now this is a card that wasn't in my initial list, but after playing, it was just amazing. Sometimes you win the game with this card. Sometimes you help make them overcommit to the point where you can set up a harsh rule. Or, Great Parliament gives you that time you need for harsh rule, to find a harsh rule or to find something.
yeah. Great Parliament is just great in this deck. We already are running a lot of ramp to get to those big, brilliant ideas. That goes very well with Great Parliament. Great Parliament is also really good when you have Temple Distortion out because casting 3 owls at the end of their turn is 12 points of damage. If you happen to have a Sword of Sky King in your hand, it's pretty much lethal if the board is empty. You can even Harsh Rule in their turn, end of the turn, play Great Parliament and set up a kill like that.
Yeah,
So,
it's not unheard of. I think in the video of me playing, I've got that scenario actually occur. Um,
yeah,
Harsh rule, kill all things. We don't want them to kill us, so we gotta make sure the board's clean to keep us at a healthy life total.
true, true. Harsh Rule, yeah, it's our wipe. It's one of our wipes we also have end of the story.
Yeah,
So,
brilliant idea. Now this card, I've been asked about on stream. I've been asked about in my Discord. Now, everyone's like, you pay 6 to draw 2. Now, sometimes, every once in a while, and it doesn't feel good when you have to do that. But when you play this and draw 6 for 10, you're
it's game.
and like with the ability, we'll get to Temporal in a second. With the ability of Temporal, being able to do this and then untap, man, you don't.
Oh, yeah.
There's like no way you lose. Like, and people are like, you play 4. Well, once we start going off, we have to have one to keep going off. Like, you don't want to get to the situation where we have 12 power and like 2 cards in our hand and nothing to do. We want to draw our brilliant ideas. Again, we have strategized to put them on the bottom. We have merchants to put them in the market. Even one of our smugglers merchants can get it back out of the market when we need it. So it's not dead. Like, I had it in a matchup where it was really bad. Put it in the market. Late game, I didn't have anything else to do. Pulled it out. Drew 4. Fantastic card. End of the story. Another board wipe. But this one's kind of interesting. It's warp. You can play it off the top of your deck, so you're getting even more value. You're not having to waste a card out of your hand. Also, make sure you play out to your outs. If you don't have a board wipe in your hand and you have a couple Seek Powers or something, thin your deck out. You might pull the power off the top of your deck and hit it into the story. It's happened to me once. It's happened to me once.
This can happen. Or just cast a strategize and then see an end of the story on top of your deck. So that's also really good.
Yeah, it feels amazing. It doesn't happen often, but it only has to happen once for you to be sold.
Oh yeah, and you can actually warp this card just to kill one unit because you already got some value. You're gonna draw a new card next turn.
Yeah, it's not wasting you a card. Your hand's not being wasted at this moment. 25 power. You got to play a lot of time, a lot of Justice Sigils for Minotaur Ambassador to pull out. We're playing 12 crests. We are a control deck. We're wanting to try to find that specific spell for that specific matchup. Again, this deck takes a lot of reps. You can't just decide to take this deck and play it. You need to know the matchups. You need to know which cards you need for which matchups, and then you need to know how long you have to survive to get there and what it's willing to take. You have to use your life total as a resource with this deck. Cobalt Waystone. I was iffy about this card, but yeah, it's Aegis is helping you protect anything. The decks that decide to play Caleb's Choice over Boar, you're gonna love Cobalt Waystone. The decks that play Sabotage before they try to reanimate, you're gonna love Cobalt Waystone. Pretty much,
Yeah.
it's a necessity.
Yeah, Cobalt Waystone is really good against Maul as well.
Yeah,
Even though I lost one game where I could have gotten the Aegis off and then I didn't.
Oh, that feels rough.
Yeah, I mean, I would still probably lose that game because I was already at a very low total point. But if I had played the Primal Sigil the turn before, I could have gotten the Aegis with the Cobalt Waystone. And I played a Justice Sigil, so which I really didn't need to play that turn because I already have 2 Justice. So that was a bit of a misplay, and probably wouldn't win me the game because I was really low as well. But yeah, Cobalt Waystone can save us in those spots.
Exactly. The deck's very easily to misplay. Moving on to the market, this is probably where you and me have a different list. When I talk about my list and your list and some of the changes, the market is what's different. We have a disjunction, I'm assuming for the chains matchup or to get one of our cards back. Either it functions for both, right?
It's mainly to get Pit of Lanekta back because most decks only have one way to deal with relics. Most of the times I save that disjunction to get Pit back unless I really need to have it to use it on something our opponent plays, but it's mostly to get Pit back. I mean, I've gotten Sword back, I've gotten Temporal back even, but mostly Pit of Lanekta.
Gotcha. We got Eternity Core. We've already discussed how important it is to ramp with our 7 merchants. Temporal Distortion. Yeah. This is the reason why we're playing this deck. It allows you to untap at the start of your enemy's turn. So you can tap out, do whatever you want, untap, start with all your power. You think that's good enough, right? No. All your spells are fast. All of them. You no longer have slow spells.
That's the really broken part because casting Brilliant Idea in our opponent's turn and casting Archful in their turn and Great Parliament, those are the winning plays, so that's the really broken part.
Yeah, just making Great Parliament have fast speed, having harsh... Yeah, you already went over it. I don't have to go. It's broken. You need to try it out if you've never tried it. It's amazing. Remember, it only is spells, though, so it doesn't count units or attachments.
Oh, that would be nice.
yeah, like Max.
Ambassador with Flash. That would be nice.
So, when Temporal was at its height, before it got nerfed, we didn't have this card. But Pit is... I think if we had it back then, it would also have been an auto-include. This card is just amazing. Like, it allows us to finish games. One thing that Temporal had a problem with, once it started controlling the board, they would have hard times finding win cons. Sometimes. Most time not. It was still just super grindy. Now we have Pit. A lot of times, this card comes down, my opponent concedes right then and there. But, you know, we'll go over a little bit. When an enemy unit goes to the graveyard, or goes to the void, which is the graveyard, you gain 2 life, which is amazing. I've used this to stabilize against aggro. Just when I was in torch range, I'll play this, kill 2 units, go up to 7 life, and be safe again. But when you play a power, you get 2 7/7s. Now they're exhausted. They're not going to be able to block. That's one thing a lot of people don't plan on. From what I've watched, when they play this, they play to get 2 7/7s, and their math isn't right because they're like, oh, I can't block with them. So they kind of... It's a little problem, but just remember they're exhausted. What's your thought on this card?
Well, this card, it's great in this deck, and it might be good in other decks like Shinebray. Okay, it's an okay card there as well because they can ramp and actually play it fast. I don't think the card is really amazing. It costs 9, and if you don't have power, it basically does nothing. But in this deck, it's amazing. it's a way to finish the game really fast. So you play this card, you play another power, get 2 worms. Next turn you're eating for 14. So
Yeah.
if they happen to kill your worms, you just play another power and you have two other worms. It's good against chains because you play a power, you play 2 worms, they play a power, they kill 1 worm, so you still got 177 left. So it's also really good against chains.
Yeah, I agree. I like Pit a lot in this deck. Okay, so last card, and I kicked myself for not including. When I first built this deck, I didn't have 8 of Huru in my 90, and after seeing your list, I was like, oh, that's what I'm missing. 8 of Huru, stun each enemy unit, play 2 4/4 owls with flying. You draw 4 cards, and you gain 4 armor. That 4 armor, by the way, has helped a lot with the Sword of the Sky King. Just that extra health. Just draw 4, and you stun their entire board, which if you have Temporal on, you do it in their turn, it's
and
phenomenal.
You still get 2 owls.
Yeah.
Those 2 owls can just win the game because they're not going to have anything to block because everything is stunned. So, and it's 8 points of damage a turn. If you cast that 8 of the Euro in their turn, that's 2 turns they're not going to have anything to block the owls. It's pretty much game if you cast this card.
And I noticed, now remember everyone, it's in his market, so only 3 merchants can grab it. You can't grab it with a time merchant. So that is one difference. But yeah, the card's just phenomenal. Like he said, just you play it, you win.
That's true. Way back, I used to play a version of this deck. It was more like Owl Ramp. I was running 4 Great Parliaments and 4 Aid of Duru in the main deck. I think before we even had markets. The deck was great. We used Power Stone because there was no Eternity Core. I used the Ambassadors and just ramped until I could cast Aid of Duru. But this was way back. The meta was very different. And it was great casting Aid of Duru and getting another Aid of Duru. That's when you just won the game.
I used to play 8 of Hoover in a mask deck, a 4-color mask deck. I actually made it to rank 1 2 months in a row. I didn't maintain it by any means, but I played 8 of Huru mask.
Oh yeah, I can see it being great in mask. You can really ramp to 8 of Huru fast with the mask. Yeah.
But anyway, that is the Brilliant Banter list. We're going to go over mine very shortly. We're not going to keep Gozuu here much longer. So just bear with me while I pull up the other list.
Alright.
Alright guys, we're back with Gozuu real quick. I'm just going to show you my list, just in case you wanted to try something a little different. As you can tell, the same power base. Almost the same spells. Definitely the same units. The market is a little different. I have Eternity Core, as he does. We're playing Lumen Reclaimer. Now, I had this in here for one reason. And after last night, I'm not going to get rid of this card. I thought everyone was going to see Gozuu play the deck, and between that and my stream, a couple other people's stream, I thought Temporal was going to start running rampant. So I wanted a Lumen Reclaimer to outgrind them. If you haven't seen that matchup with Temporal versus Temporal, usually who holds the Lumen Reclaimer can't most of the time wins. I haven't played it too much mirror match since the pit, so I could be wrong. But on top of that, plus, it's a great against Reanimator. If you get to find a merchant on turn 3, and then on turn 4, right before they get to grasp on their turn 5, you play Reclaimer, you shuffle their graveyard back. They're not too happy at all.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. They now have a dead grasp of the shadows in their hands.
Yeah, and then you usually kill it by either one of their death touch or when you harsh roll just to get value. Lumen Reclaimers get shoveled back into your deck. I know against Reanimator player on one of the videos that I will be having of this deck, I did a Lumen Reclaimer 3 times on him, and I didn't know why he didn't scoop. But yeah, Reclaimer, really good against Reanimator if you're seeing it. Really good against the mirror. If you don't see either, I don't know if I would play this card. Passage of Ions. I'm playing Disjunction mainboard instead of the market. I want to answer certain things. I think chains, I want to stop some of their power base sometimes. I want to be able to return some of my things. But yeah, passive Aeons. I've also been seeing a lot of obelisks lately with the Wisp deck that everyone's been playing. So passive Aeons just blowing out all relics is really good. Again, it's an answer to the mirror.
That's true. I think this list is favored in the mirror because of Passage of Aeons and Lumen Primer. Both of those cards are a big problem.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought that it was going to happen. I haven't faced the mirror yet, but both of these cards, like I brought for the mirror, but I have found on my way of playing in the ranks that they have other purposes. Lumen Reclaimer for the graveyard matchup, Passage Aeons for the obelisks and chains. I played one game where the guy had 2 chains, so a disjunction wasn't very favorable. But luckily enough, I had enough harshes till I got a passage, and then he was just top deck mode with no chains. Feels amazing. We're still playing Temporal. We're still playing Pit. I moved Aid of Huru to the main board. Love the card. That could be a mistake just because that just increases how many bad cards we could have in the opening hand. And then I'm also playing Disjunction, but again, we talked about Strategize, how much I love Strategize, how easy it is to find these niche cards and throw them to the bottom when you don't think they're good. And Aid can still go in the market for your Great Valley Smuggler later.
Yeah, that's something we can do. We can put Aid of the Euro in the market and then get it back if we draw it too early. Or put it in the bottom of the deck, but then you're never going to see it again.
Yeah, we are. We're going to see it when we shuffle Lumen Reclaimer.
Oh yeah, that's true. Never thought of that. That's true.
Well, one thing, this does hurt our Zoe matchup. We are only playing 2 Vanquishes. So I might have to get with Gozuu later. Cut some Hellstorms, add a 4th Defiance, a 3rd Vanquish, see what we can do. But I think that's it on the deck tech. We kind of went a little long, but we had 2 decks to show you, but very similar, different in a few different choices. Gozuu, you want to say anything? You have anything to tell people on our way out?
Well, if you haven't tried this deck yet, try it because it's great. Either of the lists, they pretty much function the same for all I know. I haven't tried this one, but it's pretty similar. So if you haven't tried it, try it. If somehow you haven't played Eternal yet and you are watching this, try Eternal because it's a great game.
By the way, I think your name for this deck is way better than mine. I named mine Temporal Pits before I saw yours. Brilliant banter. I like that one much better. But yeah, real quick, I want to thank Gozuu for being on the stream with me, or being on the video with me, helping me discuss this deck. Congratulate you for another top 8 on the ETS.
Cheers, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Real quick, if y'all want either one of the lists, there'll be a link down below in the video. And if you did like the video, give me a quick follow. I really appreciate it. And the next one coming up will be gameplay of the Temporal deck. So be sure to check that out. Y'all guys, thanks for watching. Have a good day.